The Combi Rig was invented over 30 years ago, and to say that it's caught its fair share of carp would be, well, a bit of an understatement. In today's video, we're going to deep dive into the Combi Rig and learn how to tie one with a little bit of help from our friends at Gemini. Let's get into the video. As I mentioned in the intro, the Combi Rig has been around for quite some time, originally designed to help eradicate tangles on the cast while still offering extremely good hooking potential. That being said, the materials that were available back then were still not all that suitable. They were still relatively soft. Luckily these days we've got a whole host of different items in our armouries to enable tangle-free fishing. A lot of those of course come from the guys over at Gemini Carp Tackle. Within the creation of this rig we are going to be incorporating one of the Gemini Tidy Booms for Combi Rigs. Now in case you haven't seen a Tidy Boom before, let's run over a couple of the key points that you need to know and why you should be incorporating these in your angling. Each Tidy Boom is made right here in the UK from 100% fluorocarbon with a light refractive index of 1.42, meaning these offer the ultimate camouflage. They are practically invisible in water. All of the Tidy Booms within the range have fused loops at either end. This is created using something called Fluorocarbon Fused Bond Technology, and it offers an extremely neat loop while also offering a massive strength gain over your conventional style knot. They also offer a 30-pound breaking strain with a diameter of 0.50, which gives you the perfect balance between strength, abrasion resistance, and that perfect amount of rigidity to help reset the rig, which a lot of modern-day carp rigs seem to incorporate. The Tidy Booms we're using today come in three different lengths. You've got the 5.5 inch, which I've currently using, you've got the 7 inch, and you've also got the 9 inch. So you really can tailor the rig to your desired length. They come in packs of 3 and start at just over £4. And the Combi style Tidy Booms come with a 3.1mm rig ring on one of the fused loops. The Combi Rig can be used for bottom baits, wafters, or pop-ups. The choice is entirely up to you. All you need to do to tailor it to each of those different bait types is to change the hair length. So to construct this rig, we first need to create a small braided hook section. Take about sort of 9-10 inches of your chosen braid. I like to use uncoated braid for this. The suppleness of the braid is really quite important. So as I say, take 9 to 10 inches of that and then just create a small hair loop in one end. So I create my hair loops with just a small overhand knot and then just trim the tag end. Next up, grab yourself a small rig ring. So once you've got your rig ring, slide it down the braided hook section. And at this point, you're going to use this rig ring to basically set your hair length. On this type of presentation, as I mentioned, I like to use a snowman setup. So for that, I want a hair which is roughly 25mm in length. It's quite simply a case of sliding that rig ring down and then tying an overhand knot to hold the ring in place. That then basically gives you your length of hair. Next up, take your chosen hook. I quite like to use a wide gape style hook with a beak point and then a very slight in-turn on the eye. This basically gives me just a slight kick once the rig is completed to help that hook flip and take hold. Now you need to pass the point of the hook down through the rig ring and slide it onto the shank and hold it roughly opposite the barb. And then you just want to pass the braid through the back of the eye of the hook and whip down 6 or 7 times to create your knotless knot. Again, once you've whipped, back through the eye in the same direction, through the back and out the front. So you basically always want that braid coming out towards the hook point. Now we're getting close to completion on the small braided hook section. Next up, we just need to slide over a small bit of heat shrink tube. Now Gemini make some very nice pre-cut 10mm bits of heat shrink tube, which I've been using for years now. It's one of my favourite products that they do, even though it sounds so simple. It is a real time saver. And it's nice to know that every single bit is the same size. Slide it over the eye of the hook and just cover the knotless knot that we've created. We're going to steam this into position, giving a slight kick, just to close the gape on that hook very slightly, but what it does enable it to do is flip and grab hold super quickly, and that is what this rig is all about. Excellent hooking efficiency with minimal tangles. So as you can see there, I've created just a very, very slight kicker using that heat shrink tube. Now, it doesn't seem a lot, but let me tell you, it makes all the difference when it comes to a carp having this in its mouth and you getting a take or not. Now, the final part of this is getting it to a position where we can attach it to a Tidy Boom. And I like to do that with a loop-to-loop system. So basically what that means is I can change out the small hook section as many times as I need to. If the hook goes blunt, I can just whip this off and whip a new one on. The Tidy Booms themselves last for ages. You certainly don't want to be changing those every single time that you get a fish. Just not required. The strength and durability is there to last tens of fish. So just change the small hook sections. That's all you need to do. So a small loop in that. I normally like to take around 1 inch of material, fold it over, and then tie a figure-of-8 loop knot. One of the nice things about a figure-of-8 loop knot is that wherever you fold your material is how long the rig is going to be once it's finished. So let's do that, pull that tight. It is then quite simply a case of taking your small hook section and threading it through the metal loop on the Tidy Boom. Then all you need to do is pass the other end of the Tidy Boom through the loop in the braided section as you've created, thread that through that and just pull it all the way down, and then you have looped on your small braided section onto that metal loop. And that has created something which is not only neat, but it's super effective. The Combi Rig is known all around the world for catching so many fish. It's ridiculous. The fact that you can do it with this much ease using the Tidy Booms and just a small braided section of hook link material, yeah, you're definitely onto a winner. Finally, you just need to put a small piece of putty around that knot and then attach your chosen hook bait. My chosen hook bait is half a white pop-up with a small 16mm coated bottom bait. Now this is going to sit on the lake bed with the hook flat, the bottom bait flat, but stood upright with the white pop-up above it. Now the reason that I've created the hair to be this length is so that it sits next to the hook. The last thing that you want it to do is to make the hook sit at a funny angle because your hair is too short. I personally would always rather have a hair which is very slightly too long. Extra separation really does tend to catch out the bigger fish. A longer hair is also an extremely good way to try and negate any bites from nutrient species, whether it be tench or big chub. If you're river fishing, the long hair can really sort of alleviate the pain of having to get up 10 times in a night when all you want is that magical carp. Now the mechanics of this rig are enhanced massively by the Tidy Booms. That rigidity, that stiffness, when the carp inhales the hook bait, obviously it'll enter the mouth, and then as it realises something is wrong, it will try to blow it back out. At that point, the supple hook manages to sort of twist and catch hold as you would like it to, and then the rigidity of that boom almost creates like a point of no returns. It's an extremely good rig that I use in a substantial amount of my fishing. If I'm ever fishing from a bait boat or out of a baiting spoon, I like to incorporate that stiffness, that resetting properties that the Tidy Booms offer. I have this image in my head that when you release a rig from a bait boat, if it's a supple braided rig or from a spoon, as I mentioned, it literally just goes down in a complete heap on the floor. Whereas when you've got this, when that lead hits the floor, the rigidity of that Tidy Boom is going to push that hook link out and extend it ready for that first bite. And that, I believe, is pretty much everything that you need to know about creating the perfect Combi Rig, of course with a little bit of help from our friends over at Gemini. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss out any more future uploads. For now, pop down into the comments and let me know if you're going to give Tidy Booms a go in your fishing. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much.